Thank you, Rosie. Organizations across the province are pleading with the government to step in and help, as they say the system that supports people living with developmental disabilities is on the verge of collapse. The organizations say they have not had a significant funding increase since 1993. That has left many not-for-profit groups having to turn people away and offer fewer services to adults who live with disabilities. Here's some statistics for you. 52,000 Ontarians are on wait lists for supports and services. That includes about 5,000 people here in Ottawa and Eastern Ontario. Joining us now is John Rietschlin. He is the board chair for L'Arche Ottawa. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
This is such a vulnerable sector of our population, our demographic. Tell us a little bit more. When we say not a significant increase in funding since 1993, how small has it been?
So since 1993, the cost of living has increased by about 60%.
Right.
Our sector has received an overall funding increase of 7% in that space of time.
My goodness. And I know you have decades worth of experience in this sector and being with L'Arche Ottawa in particular. Mm-hmm. How has the need changed or grown? Because our city's grown.
Of course, the city has grown. As you said in the statistics, there are something like 5,000 people on a waiting list in L'Arche Ottawa.
Yeah.
So the agencies, there are about 15 agencies that are funded by the Ministry of Community and Social Services to care for these people. So we can't possibly cover that number of 5,000 without a funding increase. As you can imagine, try to living in your house today, the cost of today, but with your salary of 1993, and that explains pretty clearly why we can't really, address this big increase of population that needs our support.
And give us a concrete example of who this helps or how they'll be impacted if something or an organization like L'Arche can't do what it needs to do.
Yeah. So we know many families where there are aging parents who have a child with disabilities. So imagine you have a child, you're expected as a parent to look after that child, but at some point you think that child is going to move to their own life. Parents with children with disabilities, that doesn't happen. So we know families the parents are 70, 80, even 90 years old, and they're still waiting for a place for their son or daughter to be able to live independently with the support of an agency such as L'Arche or any of the other 15 in our city.
Yeah, my understanding is specifically with developmental disabilities, as you age and your child turns into an adult, their behavior can still be childlike.
It can be, absolutely, and of course they want to have a meaningful life too, and sometimes if they don't have meaningful activities to do, they can get frustrated, they can get, so behaviors can escalate. It can become very damaging. We have a young woman in our agency her name is Devin, and she was having a tremendous number of behavioral problems at home. When Devin came to our day program, her behaviors ceased really, and so she and her mother are having a very nice life together now because of the support we're able to give. But again, 5,000 people on a waiting list, we can't help them because we don't have the funding.
And that's a beautiful example, because I noticed that you use the word cease, not just improved, really almost ceased altogether, and that means that you can just live so harmoniously.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
What has the communication from the ministry been like? Because we've heard from other organizations over the years where maybe there's a ministry that said, hey, heads up, you might want to diversify your funding or look to private donors because we're not going to be throwing more money your way. Was there warning?
So the ministry is very deliberately also increasing funding to individuals so that the idea is that the individuals could purchase services from the sector.
I see.
But the funding is quite limited at this point. Some people will get like $5,000 a year, or at maximum maybe $40,000 a year. That is not enough nearly to purchase the kind of services that these families need. So it's good, and the ministry is very deliberately shifting the funding in that direction, but we also need an increased funding in the sector. Last year, fortunately, the government gave us a 3% increase, first meaningful increase in a very, very long time. But is it coming again this year? We don't know. We have no idea whether there will be a funding for our sector again this year.
That's interesting. I didn't realize the shifting change in how they're funding. Do you know why that is?
Well, it's actually, it makes a lot of sense because
Okay.
individuals, families should have choice. So they would be able to use the money to meet the needs as they see it, and so not simply go to an agency and say, please give us whatever you can.
Right.
So it's empowering the families, empowering the individuals. It's a good strategy, but the funding is not adequate at this time, and possibly never will be. So the sector also needs to be funded to
Yeah.
provide services.
Yeah, because that wait list is concerning.
Yeah, exactly.
John, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's a really important conversation and information people need to know about. Is there something folks can do to assist you in advocating for those living with developmental disabilities?
Yes, please let the Premier know that it's important that the developmental services sector receive an increase in the coming budget, which will be in only a few weeks, as we all know.
Perfect. John, thank you so much, and you take care, and all the best to you.